Hi, it's Sally again. It's day 4 of my commitment to Leicester's 6 Steps to Freedom. We don't have any sunshine today, but it's still in the woods, which is nice. It's been a pretty strange couple of days. This morning was particularly disturbing. So the question is always, how am I wanting to make the world real more than I'm wanting freedom? Whatever the disturbance is, that question is the same. And despite the turmoil, I would even describe it as, for the last couple of days, when I've worked with releasing partners, it's released. And it's just such a wonderful experience. And it does come back. But having an experience of it releasing is very, very important, because it loosens something in the brain. And then each time when it does come back, it's always slightly different, like you never put your foot in the same river twice, whatever that saying is. But having had the experience of going into the releasing session, believing it won't work, and actually quite resistant going into the session, and then it just does. And that's always a great experience. So my turmoil is my usual turmoil. What a fuck up I've made of my finances. I mean, my decision making has been catastrophic. If it was worse, I wouldn't be sitting here, but it's pretty bad. And as I look back, the more I did to try and fix it, the worse it got. The more desperate I felt, the worse it got. The more obsessed I got with the money that I had apparently lost, the more I lost again. And the more vulnerable I became to people who were not as honest as they could have been. I decided to be a trader for some bizarre reason, even though I hated the industry and met probably some of the most unpleasant people I've ever met in my life. And I got obsessed with it. I mean, that's another story. But seeing this in terms of Leicester's teaching and the teaching that comes from, which is the non-dual understanding, the more I identified with myself as this person who had done a thing, the worse I made it, because the more work I did on it, as I described it as work, the more self-help I did, the more I tried to change myself, the more rigid this idea of a me who had done this thing got. And I've read about other people with similar experiences. I mean, I was desperate at one point. And I haven't solved the problem, but I don't feel desperate anymore, so that's good. And so how have I been wanting to make the world real? Or how have I been wanting approval, control, security, separation, and oneness? Then I've been wanting freedom. And the first way is that when I'm in the midst of this story, I get very attached to myself as this poor victim. You could probably pick that up with how I described the people who I'd willingly paid money to. And in that position, you're kind of blaming somebody, whether you want to admit it or not, you are. So in that sense, it's making the world real by saying it was their fault. I can't do anything. I am just this person who has this problem and I can't do anything about it. And if these people hadn't done this, or if these people had helped me, it would be different. So there's a whole load of wanting control, wanting approval. When you're not getting approval, you want disapproval. So to create that kind of scenario in your mind, you need to create yourself as a wronged object. You need to create lots of other people who have wronged you. And when we create all these objects, subjects and objects in our minds, that's making the world real. Because none of it's here now. And I don't even know who those people are. They're all existing in my imagination, as am I when I think about myself in the past. Really, when I'm in that state, what is it that I cannot bear to feel? I'm happy to blame other people. I'm happy to blame myself. I'm happy to tell me I'm this terrible person who should never have done this. But there's something else that I really, really don't want to feel. There's something I'm not releasing. There's something I'm refusing to let go of when I'm in that state. And another thing that I just won't feel is that maybe I can do whatever I like about this, but I just don't want to do it. I don't want to show myself. I don't want to share my work. That's very well trodden ground actually in that sense, but there's a different sense of it which I felt today. So when things feel stuck like this, what am I really, really resisting in this situation? And it starts to unwind as I admit that to myself, and there's nothing particularly clear. It has to do with showing my work, as I said previously, but it also has to do with trusting this work and throwing caution to the wind. I tell you, my toes are curling now. I know what I want to do. I've always known that. I did the Hoffman process a few years ago. It was great. And I wrote exactly what I wanted to do. I saw myself drawing, teaching this work. I've never been in any doubt what I want. I really want a dog as well. I love animals. And so I've never not known what I want to do. Trusting this work instead of believing all those stories about myself, my family, what they think, what I think, what this person thinks, what that person thinks, what's important, what isn't important. I already know. So thank you again for your attention. I hope these videos are helpful. It'll be interesting to see how this unfolds over the next 3 months or so. It's always good to remember that with the Sedona Method, the more we release, the less fearful we are of emotions. If you're not afraid of emotions, you'll be totally free. How many things do we avoid because we're scared of how we might feel in the future if this happened? I mean, that's what I spend my time doing. I think, well, if this happened and I saw that person or I went and did this, imagine how bad I would feel. Do we need that? No. It's not helping, it's not protecting, it's not achieving anything. So, on that note, let's do releasing. So, anyway, yeah, good. Thank you. I'll see you tomorrow.